good, people? What's good? What's going on? You guys are listening to your favorite podcast. And today, Tyrone, we have a very special treat for everybody out there. We are teaming up with The Grind from the Georgia State Honors College. And we're going to be talking about someone who is very, very cool to me. Someone that is doing things that he shouldn't be doing, honestly. Like, he's defying all the odds. We're talking to someone who is a scholar. So today we're going to be talking about scholarships, why you guys should be interested in applying for scholarships. You don't necessarily have to be someone that is in the honors college. You can just be a regular student doing your thing. So we're going to give you guys information on how to apply for these scholarships while also highlighting Kalif Robinson so you guys can learn from him and learn exactly how you can apply for these scholarships. So before we get started, Tyrone, how you feeling, man? What's up?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been one of them weeks at school. I'm happy for it to be a spring break is next week.
Yes.
So I'm glad to finally have some sort of a break.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Kalif, he's on the phone, and we about to get this party started. And also, you guys make sure to stay tuned, like, subscribe, comment, share this with your mom, your friends, whoever, man. And let's get the show on the road. Let's do it, man.
All right, Kalif, how you doing, man? Can you hear us?
I'm great, man. How are you?
Doing pretty good.
Perfect. Kalif, this is Caleb, Tyrone. He calls you, man. And again, we just want to tell you thank you. We're not going to hold you up for too long. And thank you again for coming on, bro.
Of course, man. No worries at all.
Awesome. So starting off, man, Tyrone found out something that was very, very interesting about you. And Tyrone, what was that you found?
Well, so I understand, you've been through a lot. You've been juggling school, obviously having a social life and working and things like that. And I honestly just wanted to ask you, a little bit background about all the places you worked and some of your favorites. So from my understanding, I understand you worked at a Nike store at one point in time. Is that correct?
I did, yes.
And with that, are you a big sneaker guy? Are you really big into shoes and things like that?
Man, I used to be. So I worked at Nike Linux, and I used to be a big sneaker guy because I had the big discount.
Of course.
But once I lost the discount, I was like, not so much. Nah, but I've got a lot of sneakers from during my time there. I worked there for like a year and a half, I think.
Okay. What's your collection looking like? Is it vast? You got a big closet?
Nah, man, it's really not that crazy. I haven't really been into shoes too much. I really liked a lot of the running style shoes.
Okay.
So I had some of the more popular ones from the time I worked, like, Nike Racers and I've got some Pegasus and different things like that. Nothing crazy. I never got into Jordans or anything like that for real, except for like one pair.
Okay. All right. And on the flip side to that, I also know that you worked at a yogurt place.
I did.
So what's your favorite yogurt? since we're on the subject.
Yogurt, I worked at a yogurt shop in Midtown. My favorite, we had a cheesecake flavor that was pretty bomb.
Cheesecake yogurt. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, cheesecake, it was pretty good.
Nice. So, Kalif, man, Tyrone already did all the background info, but my only thing is something that really caught my eye was, learning that you were balancing all these jobs. So how did you balance all these jobs and then say, hey, I want to apply for the Gilman Scholarship? So how did all that happen?
Yeah, man. It started early, man. I knew I come from a very humble beginnings, to say the least, and I'm first generation college student. So, and I have a younger brother and younger sister. So there's a lot of pressure in terms of like not failing, and also in terms of finding the financial means to make things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew I couldn't, necessarily go to my parents and ask for money and things. So of course I had to take out student loans. I was fortunate enough to get Hope and Pell Grant and different things like that.
Okay.
But I needed money to subsidize my living and food, and I had a car at the time. At one point, I had a car note and different credit card bills and whatnot. So I had to work.
Right.
So that was just kind of a reality I internalized, and I was like, all right, this is my reality. This is what I have to do.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do to make this work for me?
Okay.
And so that dealt with a lot of planning. Writing a to-do list. But just I'm sure a lot of people have experienced this, but just you have to live with your reality, and so you try to make it as livable as possible.
Right.
And so once that sunk in for me, and I knew it was reality for me going into college, I just tried to make it work. And so tried to find balance with that reality.
Awesome.
Okay. So, for the people who don't know, what is it like? What type of career is it that you are pursuing, or what you were in school for currently?
Right. Okay. Also, did you want me to talk about Gilman? I totally missed that part, or do you
Oh,
want to
sure,
come
sure,
back to
sure.
that? Yeah,
Honestly,
you
you
asked
can
me.
answer Tyrone's question, and then after that, we can get back
Yeah, go into
into
your
the Gilman
question.
Scholarship. You're
Right.
good.
Okay, cool. So right now I'm completing up my master's degree at Georgetown, doing a Master of Science in Foreign Service, which is essentially international affairs.
Okay.
I'm focusing specifically on global politics and security studies,
Nice, nice, nice.
with a concentration on sub-Saharan Africa, diplomacy, negotiation. With those studies, I will be finishing up this May. So I graduate May 18th,
Congrats.
which I'm very excited about. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I'll be going to the U.S. Foreign Service as a U.S. diplomat.
Cool.
U.S. diplomats work abroad in different embassies overseas, representing the United States in different capacities. One could be in an economic capacity, so helping with trade deals.
Nice.
What I'm passionate about is public diplomacy, which is people-to-people engagement. Helping with education programs within the host country. Helping with cultural exchange programs within another country. I'm very passionate about intercultural dialogue and engagement, and so this career really suits me, and I'm very excited for it. And I was able to get into this career through something called the Rangel Fellowship.
Yes.
And for anyone interested, that is a fellowship that largely pays for your graduate degree, and through going through a bunch of different processes, it also enables you to get into the U.S. Foreign Service as a U.S. diplomat, and that's the Rangel Pickering Fellowship for the State Department, and then the Payne Fellowship is for United States Agency of International Development, USAID, and that is also another department where they have a fellowship process to get into and be a U.S. Foreign Service officer.
Nice, man. And for all those people out there that's listening, some of them, they could be saying right now, I have no idea what the Gilman is. Like, what is that? So if you could you describe the Gilman Scholarship for them?
Right. Give me 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
So the Gilman Scholarship is actually admitted by the State Department.
Okay.
It's the Benjamin A. Gilman International Scholarship. It's a grant program that enables students with limited financial means to study or intern abroad. Through this studying abroad, they gain skills critical to different U.S. national security interests, and also economic competitiveness. So this idea of cultural and intercultural engagement is kind of rooted in the Gilman Scholarship. It's open to U.S. citizen undergraduate students who are receiving federal Pell Grant funding. So students who, like I said, have limited financial means are encouraged and actually targeted for this scholarship. And these are for students at a 2-year or a 4-year college or university. And like I said, it's to study or intern abroad in programs all over the world. So this actual scholarship helped me study abroad in 2015 when I went to Jordan.
Cool.
I wanted to ask a little bit about just picking your brain on like how you decided to go the path that you did, because I read that your father was a musician. So I was wondering if there was some connection in between, like, your father's hustle and that then inspiring you to, do what you need to do to get funding for school.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was actually interesting because you live with your parents obviously all your life. If you're fortunate enough to be able to, I had a 2-parent household, and my parents have always been entrepreneurs, and that never really sunk in for me until probably like 5 or so years ago. And I think it's just become part of who I am. This idea of having to, they say, get it how you live and make things work. So I think my mom and my dad's, drive and passion and commitment and faith have really influenced me. My dad is a musician. I was into music younger. I used to play the trumpet, and I tried to take piano lessons from my dad, but he used to do private lessons, and I would go in there, and I would always ask him, "Dad, when is it over?" So he kicked me out. But I went on to play the trumpet in middle school, and I stopped. But I love music. But I mean, no, my parents have definitely influenced me greatly in a lot of different ways. Maybe not necessarily music translates to international affairs, but their values and their work ethic and their love and faith have definitely helped me get there.
Dope. And Kalif, man, something that is really dope as well is seeing how you are using your platform on a new documentary called Unlikely, and I saw the trailer for that, and it was super fire. So could you just tell us, how'd you even get noticed for that? Because people don't just end up on docuseries, documentaries. So how exactly did that happen?
Right, man. So I used to work. Another one of my jobs that I had at undergrad was working in the University Advisement Center, and I had a lot of great mentors there. And I mean, long story short, I was doing a lot of great things. I was kind of making a name for myself. I got this fellowship under my belt, and I just had a lot of people in my corner. And so Georgia State had been targeted for a number of different reasons, and they were kind of figuring out what students they wanted to have fill this slot. And so they chose the people in my corner, kind of highlighted me, and they're like, Khalif is a student you should interview. And they also interviewed a couple other students, interviewed me, and they liked my story the most. And so that set things in motion. And so there was a series of I think they came twice to Atlanta to film me on two different occasions. But it was just kind of like me kind of being in the right place at the right time and having the right people advocate for me on my behalf,
Right.
and set me up for success. And my story just kind of caught wind, and they loved it.
Nice.
Yeah, so I want to ask, like, when did you realize that, you had this unique or, this impactful of a story? When did it finally resonate that, there are people out here, who are struggling to pay for school, and I'm doing the unthinkable to some people?
Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. It's still surreal for me. Because I always try to be very self-aware, and so in that self-awareness, I'm always aware that someone is always, struggling more than me, right? So I'm always trying to reconcile this idea of like, oh, my story is this, when I know, two or three other people who have had just as, much of a struggle, if not more. And so through that process, though, I've learned that, even though my story may not be the worst story in the world or the most where I face the most adversity, but there's still things that can be gained, and there's still similarities that people resonate with that could encourage or inspire some. And so it's kind of been an ongoing process. I don't think I've necessarily had an aha moment like my story is unique, but I think I am learning more to kind of really sit with my accomplishments and the things that I've gone through and the struggles that I've had, and really kind of explore them and dissect them and learn how to connect with other people through them. So it's an ongoing process. And like I said, I'm always kind of self-aware of other people's realities, but it's important to understand where you come from and to understand that your story is just as important as anyone else's. And that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Nice. And from your own perspective, what would you like for viewers to gain from watching the film Unlikely?
I think something that's like really clear is that there's still a lot of inequalities within post-secondary institutions. Realizing that the obstacles are real, realizing that there are systemic issues that have yet to be addressed, and realizing that there's a need for policy change when it comes to education. Now that's on the kind of pessimistic side, if you will. The optimistic side, I would say, is realizing that education is extremely important, realizing that there's different narratives about education, and that the opportunity to have access to those different narratives can be very helpful. So for instance, some people say, oh, college isn't for everyone. Well, maybe college isn't for you because you haven't heard it in a way that speaks to your aspirations. And so kind of really challenging that mindset, I think that kind of comes through in the film. I also think this shows that there are institutions that are doing great things to help students who are facing these institutional barriers. Georgia State's doing a lot of great work.
Right.
Some of the other institutions within the film are doing a lot of great work. So there is hope, and there are institutions who are trying to challenge the status quo. But yeah, I mean, I also think it's important one of the things I would take away from that is to not give up. Me and the four other students faced obstacles. Some students faced some really immense obstacles in the film, but they never gave up and they kept going. And I hope that it inspires people to do the same, to seek mentorship, to ask questions. So there's a lot of positive things to take away from the film as well. And I think it's a very positive film, and the ending of it is really inspirational. And I think it also exposes a lot of facts and figures about post-secondary institutions that I think people don't necessarily know.
Nice.
I guess one of the things I heard you mention that you want to instill that kids should never give up or students should never give up. But I want to know what for you, when times get hard, college sometimes can take a toll on you mentally, physically, emotionally, and all these type of things, and you want to give up. So, I want to ask you, what is, is there something or someone or anything like that constantly reminded you that, okay, I need to keep going?
Right. Yeah. Like I said, I've been fortunate enough to have both of my parents in my life, and I say that because it is a privilege, in my opinion. And I have always been able to call my mom and my dad, and just talk to them. They kind of have been my therapist, if you will. I've always been able to talk to them when I'm going through a tough time, and my parents are very faith-based. And so they're always helping me see the bigger picture. Two things. And so realizing that life is a journey, not a sprint. And also, if your blessings outweigh your burdens, then what is life really like? What are you really upset about? And that's not to minimize anybody's struggles, but it's just like it's kind of my reminder. Learning how to, if I'm going through a rough patch, saying, okay, what's going good in my life? I'm alive. I'm in school, which so many people aren't. I'm making good grades. Just sitting back and reflecting on all the positives really helps me. But I would say my parents, and then also just like my drive and what I want for myself and how I want to change my family, and be able to provide in a way that changes the direction of my family tree. A lot of those different things have kept me going, even at my lowest of lows.
Awesome. Kalif, you've accomplished so much, man. You've gotten so many scholarships. You're doing awesome. So what advice do you have for students who may be somewhat intimidated to apply for the Gilman or even a Wrangell Fellowship?
Man, I would say knowledge is the biggest mitigator of fear.
Okay.
And with that, I would say, one of the things that I always tell people is mentorship is so important. These scholarships I've gotten are because of mentors. I mean, the Wrangell Fellowship, I had something called the Wrangell Summer Enrichment Program, which is kind of like the baby program, if you will, to the fellowship, where you do 6 weeks in DC, learning about different government agencies. And I only knew about that because I randomly stopped in to see a mentor, Crystal Mitchell. She actually works at Georgia State still. And she had it on her desktop and randomly mentioned it to me in passing, and then followed up with an email after we met and sent me more information about the scholarship. And I applied because of her. And so it's a lot of it is like people just don't know. And sometimes you won't know unless someone tells you. And those people that can tell you can be in the form of mentors, and most often are in the form of mentors. So I would say seek mentorship. It can be difficult, especially if you're introverted and you don't like to talk to people. Just try. If it's your professor, if it's your advisor, if it's asking them who they think you should talk to. I think mentorship is so very important. And I think also doing your research, Googling what the Gilman is if you want to do Gilman, Googling what the Wrangell Fellowship is, reaching out to their, points of contact. Wrangell, you can reach out to them and they're very responsive. Ask them if you can be connected to a current fellow or current scholar or a scholar alumni or whatever the case may be. The worst thing people can say is no. Ask more, and be less inclined to, be fearful about asking. Because the worst someone can say is no, and then you figure out the next step. So get mentorship, ask questions, and do your research. Those are 3 things, and they may sound kind of obvious, and they may be easier said than done, but if you do work on them actively, because it can be a process, I think it can really take you a long way, and it's a skill that gets developed in terms of engaging with other people. So I would say focusing on those 3 things can be really helpful, and there's lots of other ways you can do things, but those are things that have helped me, I feel.
Awesome. Okay. Do you have any more questions?
Yeah, let's see what we got in the Rolodex today, Tyrone. What are some benefits that you've experienced as a Gilman Scholar?
Man, so the Gilman Scholarship is really, really helped me out, man. It really, so My study abroad process was very, very trying. I literally applied to the program I got into. It wasn't through GSU, it was an outside program.
Okay.
And I applied with no money.
Wow.
None.
Wow.
I couldn't, like, I applied knowing that, like, once you get accepted, within 2 weeks you have to pay a $500 deposit.
Wow.
I had zero money to pay for it. I just was like, I'm studying Arabic. I want to get this exposure. I want to go abroad. This has got to happen somehow. So I just applied. And I was like, all right. So I got accepted. And they're like, all right, you need $500 in 2 weeks. And I was like, I don't have that in my account at all.
Wow.
And I had my parents was like, Kalif, why don't you, crowdfund? Let's try to crowdfund this. We know a lot of people. Let's see what we can do.
Yep.
And man, I started a GoFundMe page. And
Wow.
I'll tell you 2 stories. But this is the first one. The $500 deadline was coming up. It was like Friday, and the deadline was on like Monday.
Wow.
And I had raised $250, and I was like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna get this money. It's the weekend. No one's gonna be really on social media, so no one's gonna see it. Like, no one's gonna engage me. I'm not gonna get it. Man, I'm sitting in the movie theater Saturday night, and a random friend of a cousin sends me $250.
Are you serious?
It makes a $500 difference, and I'm like, all right. So I got $500. So I was able to pay that deposit through crowdfunding, which is crazy. So then where Gilman comes in is, man, this is like a couple months later, and they're asking me for, what do they want? They wanted a couple thousand now for another down payment, essentially. And it was like $3,000, something crazy like that.
Wow.
The way my money was working, I had funds, but they weren't going to be released until much later. And then I didn't have enough. And Gilman, I hadn't heard back. And so I'm literally on the phone with my mom the night before. And the night before I get this news, and I'm crying, and I'm like looking at bank loans, and I'm like, man, Mom, like, I really want to make this happen. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, she's like, all right, well, maybe you could take out a private loan, but the interest is so high, and it's just like, it's just hard. I don't want to do that. I don't want to take out $2,000 from the bank. And I'm looking at loans, and I got tears in my eyes, man. And I go to sleep, and I got a heavy heart, and I wake up the next morning to a Gilman acceptance letter of $5,000.
Wow.
And that just paid for everything, bro.
Wow.
And got me through and gave me extra money, and it was incredible. So Gilman, it got me that world exposure. It got me abroad, frankly. And you also get access to an exclusive network of alumni. So most people who get Gilman usually go on to do other things, great things, usually, whether it's grad school or getting into government or just working in nonprofit or whatever. So you get access to those members. You get access to exclusive emails. What's really cool is you also get access to like a preferential hire portal that you can create. And they'll put job openings and different scholarship opportunities on that portal for you to gain access to once you complete the Gilman requirements. So it's a great opportunity. It opens doors, and also something to think about for people with scholarships is like, this is very specific, but if it's like State Department and you want to work for the U.S. State Department, which has a civil service and a foreign service, and I'll be going to the foreign service, getting scholarships from institutions consistently, it tracks, and people take notice, and it shows, and that goes. That's if you want to build up kind of like a resume, if you will, with State Department stuff, because I have gotten several State Department things at this point. But like, that's with all across the board. If you've got one scholarship and then you're applying to another program and they see that you've got another scholarship, that stuff holds weight and builds up. So it's important to keep that in mind too, that even if it's something small and maybe it's $200 or whatever, the fact that you have a scholarship under your belt shows that you're an ambitious student, and other people realize that when they're reviewing your resume or your different applications or whatever. But Gilman was great.
Dope. Do you have anything, Tyrone?
I don't know, man. What's the yogurt scene like up there in Georgetown, man?
That's a great question.
I'm not even eating. I'm lactose intolerant.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's hilarious. Last question, man, because I know that you're extremely busy, and I think you have a phone call at 2, so I got you. So very last thing, what's the first step that undergraduate students should take when considering applying for Wrangle Fellowship, a national scholarship, study abroad programs, grad school? So like, what's that first step that undergrad should probably take?
Figure out why you want to do what you want to do.
Okay.
Even if it's not a clear career goal, figure out why. Like when I got the Wrangle undergraduate scholarship summer enrichment program, I didn't know that I wanted to work in government. I actually was kind of didn't want to work in government initially,
Mm-hmm.
but I felt that it could help me at least explore different opportunities in that field.
Okay.
And that was kind of my mindset. All right, I'm gonna go here with an open mind, and I'm gonna learn if I get accepted, and see if there's even career opportunities that I would be interested in. And I had that going in. So just being very intentional is the first step. I mean, before I wanted to study abroad, the year before, I went to the Georgia State Study Abroad Fair, and
Wow.
I went around and I went to different tables, and I was like, where do I want to study abroad? And if it's Arabic, I want to learn abroad. What are the opportunities? And so I went to there and I collected research,
Wow.
and data and information, and I kept it on my person. I would say stay organized.
Mm-hmm.
Keep a to-do list, and just plan as much as you can, and take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
That was several different things, but they connect, I think. But those are some first steps. It starts with you
Dope.
first, and you doing your research, and then after you kind of built up your knowledge, then go ahead and do the emails,
Mm-hmm.
and try to build mentorship,
Dope.
connections, and things like that.
Cool. Kalif, I lied. This is, I promise, the very, very last question.
Bro, you're
And
good.
you
I,
can.
I probably have like till 2:10. I'm gonna tell the other
Oh,
person that.
hey, it's no sweat,
yeah.
because this one you can answer this in like 10, 20 seconds, because I got to do it for the honors college. But how beneficial was the Office of National Scholarships and Fellowships throughout the whole application process?
Right. So I'll say two things. So for
Mhm.
the Gilman Scholarship, I actually worked more closely with my study abroad advisor.
Okay.
So the Office of National Scholarships and Fellowships didn't really have a huge hand in that process.
Okay.
However, when I came back, when I was over there, I got connected to the office.
Okay. Okay.
Specifically, Dr. Jennifer Gerza-Scandon, who's no longer there,
Mm-hmm.
really, really helped me
Nice.
and walked me through things, and just kind of like showed me what life could be like and what
Nice.
opportunities there were. So super, super helpful in that regard. They really helped me with the the Wrangle undergraduate scholarship that I got,
Okay.
as well as the fellowship. Extremely helpful.
Awesome.
I mean, for the fellowship, they literally, for the fellowship, part of the fellowship process, once you get a finalist, is you have to do an interview.
Mm-hmm.
That office literally put together a mock panel for me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And prep me in that way,
That's
so
nice.
extremely helpful.
Okay.
Very inspiration, very, very inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
Just very kind people who are always willing to help me out. I still kind of engage with the Honors College. We just had so I'm the first Wrangle Fellow at Georgia State ever.
Right.
We
Right.
have I had someone who I worked with, and he got Pickering through different means of communicating and connecting him to people. And then we just had our first ever paying fellow now. So now we have people representing all of the top international affairs fellowships in the United States.
Wow.
From Georgia State University.
Wow.
And that's kind of through sustained communication and through like reaching back and connecting people. And I was just recently in contact with the Honors College, because they had let me know that another person had gotten a paying fellowship. So very important work they're doing. I look forward to staying connected with them. I look forward to assisting anyone who has any questions or wants to reach out. If anyone hears this podcast and they want to reach out to y'all or reach out to me, feel free to hit me up.
Yeah, where can they find you?
Man, I mean, outside of the traditional means, I mean, I am on Instagram at Kalif Robinson. I use that kind of as a space to kind of, I follow a lot of different people, and like a lot of people follow me who have helped me get here. And so through Facebook, which is also my name, I'm always kind of updating people on what's going on in my life in terms of achievements and different things like that. And so that's a way to kind of, if you're interested in what I'm doing, that's a way to follow me. I mean, also on email, kalif.robinson@gmail.com. Those are kind of ways to reach me. I'm not really on Twitter or anything like that. But yeah, email and then Facebook and Instagram are ways to kind of connect with me. And then you guys have my information. If someone wants my number, if you guys want to reach out to me, just let me know and we can go from there. But I'm here to be a resource, man. I believe in sharing knowledge and helping people out. That's one of my life purposes. So yeah, anyone who needs it can reach out.
That's awesome, man. Seriously, we really enjoyed this interview, and I can just tell you from a personal experience, just being in the Honors College, sitting down, doing work and stuff, and seeing Kalif's picture on the wall. You know, during tours, people always point to it. So I can tell you, like, to this day, although you aren't here physically, you know, you still have that impact on people. So that's really dope, man. Keep doing what you're doing, and we really appreciate you.
Yeah, man, 100%, man. And I didn't hear about you until Caleb told me about we were having you on the show, and I did my research on you, and I found all the things I found, and I was like, wow, man, it's just a real inspiring story, man. It really, really speaks, especially to a college student. Definitely.
Yeah.
Hey, man, that's incredible to hear, man. I'm actually gonna be, hopefully, soon. They're gonna do a screening of the film at GSU.
Nice.
Oh wow.
Within the next month, so hopefully I'll be down and y'all can come out.
Yeah.
We can connect then. But man, it means the world to me to hear you guys say that, man. This has been a really humbling and incredible journey for me, and I still got a long way to go. But to hear that from you all really keeps me going, and I do appreciate it. And anytime you all want to talk to me or reach back out or whatever, feel free.
We got you,
for real, sincerely.
Appreciate
Definitely,
that again.
man. Thank you again, bro.
Yes, and we know that you got a lot of business to take care of, things to handle. So thank you again, and you take it easy. Appreciate you, Kalif.
All right, man. You guys too. Appreciate you all.
Yes,
all right, have a good one, man.
All right, you too.
All right, guys. Tyrone, what you thinking, man? How you feel?
That was good. That was very. It was well needed.
Yes,
I feel like
very inspirational.
You know, I feel like a lot of people, with just the way things, the climate of things, a lot of people feel like they just can't do it. They just feel like these resources aren't available to them. They feel like the odds are stacked against them.
Right.
And in some cases it may be.
Yeah.
But you know, there is a chance. There's a hope. There's a chance for everybody.
Most definitely. Just like always, I agree with you, Tyrone. Speaking of facts, if you guys want to find out more information, contact Jacob English, contact the Honors College. It's just, again, like what Tyrone said, Kalif as well, I get it, we get it. You know, we're guys just like you, we're students just like you. It's females out there, it's men out there that's trying to find their way in this world. And at the same time, we're trying to navigate through college. We have assignments, we have so many things, and then we're still trying to find ourselves. Yeah. So you're dealing with so many different things, and I think something that you said, Tyrone, that spoke volumes to me when you said that you go through things not only mentally but physically too. Like, it takes a physical toll on you. Yeah. Some days you're tired. Some days it's like, man, I gotta study, so I'm gonna have to skip this meal. Or some days you may be like, I may not have anything in the bank right now, so I'm gonna have to struggle and do all this stuff. So you're going through so many different things, and the fact that Kalif's story, he was going through all this stuff by miracles. He was making it and getting it done, and he took advantage of every opportunity that came his way. So it was really dope, man. Tyrone, those questions, hilarious, great. So I really enjoyed it, man. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, man, it was great. But segue.
Yes.
Speaking of colleges and everything that's going on, man.
Yes.
So for the people who don't know, there was an investigation.
Yes.
And it was weird. It was an investigation that caught on by FBI was doing another investigation of something else, and they caught wind of this. And apparently there was a scandal going on between college admissions, SAT and ACT proctors, parents, and basically the idea of it with these parents were committing fraud along with the coaches.
That was crazy.
To get their kids into school.
Yeah, man.
And I think they said somewhere in between, some parents were spending in between $500,000 to upwards of $6.5 million just to get their children into school. I don't think they really. I know some of the schools. I think Yale was on there.
USC, right?
USC, University of Southern California.
South Carolina.
But my whole take on this. Oh, and also I think they were they arrested or indicted. I think 33 parents. One of them being Aunt Becky from Full House.
Yeah. Somebody just laughed in the hallway when you said it.
Another one. I think they believe they got 9 coaches.
Yeah, man.
They got 1 SAT proctor. This thing goes from the grassroots all the way to the top.
It's deep.
But I want to hear your take on basically the whole situation
sure
first.
Thing, man. You already know this is what we do, Tyrone. We always try to look deep into things.
Yeah.
I think that this serves as a testament of people sometimes saying, hey, I have the odds, just like Kalif's story, I have the odds stacked up against me. Mm-hmm. And I think that sometimes people say, well, hey, back in my day, I went to school, I did it, so how come you can't do it? But learning that there are literally powers that be that get people in certain schools, and that's a position that somebody like Kalif is qualified for, but yet he may not have the financial means for that position. So then he gets kicked out, or he doesn't even get looked at, or if he does even make it to that stage of being looked at, he doesn't get accepted because people like Becky's daughter, if she has 500,000, and if this building is named after her uncle or whoever, this person has so much clout that you can't turn them down.
Yeah.
So I think that serves as living proof, really, that it's people out here that aren't lying when they say, hey, like, it's really hard trying to get into a school that you want to get into, not just getting into any college, but, you know, if you're interested in getting into UGA or Ivy League or even a school like USC, it can be very difficult because you're not only going against people that may be the same as you academically, but also financially, you may not be on the same playing field.
Yeah.
So they'll know people that you don't know. They'll know how to do things that you may not be accustomed or even just familiar with. So I think that it's crazy seeing that this is a real thing, man. We have people that's break it bake just to get in there and not necessarily even finish school. Like, who knows if her daughter might drop out or not. So we have all these different things going on. So how do you feel about it, Tyrone?
So one of my main things about it is, and because when this first came out, I was like, why is this news? I was like, why is this news? I thought everyone knew that if you had money, you had a better chance of getting into a better school. Right. Like, I just assume that was common knowledge.
Right.
And if you do technically their legacies are a thing. Like, you can be a legacy admittant or things like that. That's very real.
Right.
So here's where just the greed and everything comes in. There already are legal ways for rich people to get into school over everyone else. And these people still felt like they had to take the extra step to commit fraud just to make sure their kids didn't get in. So I think that really points to the greed of the elite at the top.
It's crazy.
Let's see. Another angle of it that I thought was interesting, if we're just singling out Aunt Becky, I can't remember her name. I want to say her name is Lori Laughlin. I want to say that's her name. Okay.
She sounds rich.
But we'll refer to her as Aunt Becky for the common folk. So her daughter, oddly enough, is somewhat of a YouTube sensation. Her daughter, Olivia Jade, I believe is her daughter's name.
Okay.
Has about 1 million subscribers on YouTube.
Probably bringing in like 100,000 a month.
Somewhere probably around that with the ad revenue and things like that. And people were doing a deep dive on her daughter's YouTube page, and they found that her daughter has no interest in being in school.
And that goes back to my point. Yeah. So you're wasting somebody's spot.
Exactly. That's crazy. Her daughter was like, I really only want to go to school to party and this, that, and this. But my mom, it's a YouTube video of her saying like, I'm really only excited about the partying and things like that. But my mom told me be focused on the academics. So, and another crazy twist to add into it, there's an actual episode of Full House. For people who know at Full House, Aunt Becky was married to Uncle Jesse, and they had 2 twins. There was an episode of Full House in which the twins are about to enroll into a private school, and it doesn't seem like the kids are going to get into the school. And Uncle Jesse's like, well, I'm a famous musician and thing like that.
I'll make something shake.
Yeah, I'm going to just, go up there, be Uncle Jesse, right. Tell them I can do this and do that and help them get into the school. And Aunt Becky's character is the reason one. She's the one who's like, we shouldn't do this. We have to take it in stride. We have to do that and do this. And here we go. Fast forward 20 years later.
Look at life.
It's so funny to me, man. It's just, and I don't know, man. It really just points to like, I want to know where this America capitalist thing goes, because I was telling you before this, there was a CNN analysis they were doing that people feel like if you follow the rules, the cards are stacked against you. And this is a blatant example right that there. If you don't play against the rules, if you can do it and have money while doing it, no one cares.
And two, Tyrone, just seeing this climate right now, I think that this makes people take a step back and realize, because I think that race is such a prevalent issue when it comes in America. But I think Fred Hampton, he said this, and this is why I believe he was eventually killed, was that we had a Black Panther say, hey, it's bigger than race. Like, race is just the base level, but what people don't realize is race is used to divide up commoners, so then we won't think about, hey, who's running this. So I think that right now that this is showing us, it doesn't matter what color you are or what ethnic background that you have. If you have money, you have money. And also, if you have money in that top 1%, you can make things shake that even somebody who is privileged can't even make things happen.
Yeah.
So I think that right now we have to take a step back, and we have to realize too that we have to educate ourselves, and we have to know what's going on. So when we apply for these things, sad to say, it's truly about who you know. And also, we have to know that you have to be smart about to the schools that you apply to as well. So I think when we're thinking about applying to a Harvard, you have to think about, man, we're talking about politicians, or we're talking about billionaires who's putting their children that don't even want to be there in these schools. So Southern Cal, we're talking about West Hollywood, UCLA. So I think that that's what makes Georgia State so cool too, man, is that you can make this school however you want to make it. So I think that we have to look at this as a capitalism type of situation. We have to look at this as something that's bigger than just race. We have to look at this as classism. And also when it comes to finances, because again, man, Kalif's story spoke volumes to what the average person goes through. This man the night before praying and crying and waking up with somebody sending you money, or you're at the movie theater stressing and you can't even enjoy the film because you're worried about things like this. Yeah. So I think that this is frustrating too, because we have people like Kalif who deserve everything that comes their way, and he's this close, or was this close, to not even experiencing any of this stuff. So it's crazy.
Yeah, man, it's really just I don't know, man. I want to say, like, for some reason this one just like really spoke to me, because like I said, it was something that everybody kind of already assumed was a thing. So just the fact that now it's like a big deal, now all of a sudden everybody like, oh my god, like I can't believe this happening. But it's like, if you weren't in this elite level, you knew this was going on. Like,
most definitely.
It's just
most definitely. One of my professors, what class was it? Women in Media, I think. She told me that because she was a professor at, don't want to get the school wrong, I think it was Yale. Okay. And she was saying while she was there that one of the students plagiarized his whole entire paper, right? Or that they found out that his father was over a Fortune 500 company CEO, and he had his assistant type his son's paper. Wow. And they found out, and instead of him getting in trouble, the professor was like, we got to get this kid in trouble, right? So they take it up to the higher ups, and they dismiss the case because they were saying that one of the dorm rooms was named after his grandfather, and that his father donates the most out of all the donors. So if we kick his son out, that's our money. And that's what people don't understand. It's a money game. So if I kick him out, our money goes with that. And also he's going to badmouth the school, all that stuff. So I think that, again, it's deep. Yeah. Like, it is a deep issue. Like, it's bigger than just surface level stuff.
And I think sometimes what people forget just about higher level institutions, and this gets clouded, and it's partly due to our own like societal values and just the way things go. But people forget that college is a business first. Before I mean, the education is important. Yes. I'm not saying it's not important. Yeah. But above all, the money, the dollar. It's a money game. It's a money game. Like, you know, and I think, I don't remember, it was something that happened to me. And I was like, wow, this is like a perfect example. Oh, here's an example of how you know that the school is about money over your education. If you are failing a class, no one will tell you. No, your teacher will not tell you.
You're not going to find out until the end.
You're not going to find out until you're like, oh, wow, I failed this class. Like, I just wasted my money.
Facts.
At that point, I was like, okay, wow. School is, they're all about the money first.
That's it. And it's sad, too, man, because it's like when we see things similar to these issues, we kind of wonder, how can we resolve this? So, Tyrone, I have to pose a question for you. Okay. Mr. Philosopher, the guy who thinks deep. Because Tyrone, the way that you approach things, it's always crazy, like in the good way. So what are some solutions? Because not everybody can be like Kalif. So what are some solutions for people that's not necessarily on his level to combat this institution or this process of not getting the same opportunities as other students?
You know, and it's crazy you asked this, because in my sociology class, she was talking about how we were just referring to like how certain people are portrayed in media and how can they combat that and things like that. I feel like at the end of the day, self-empowerment is the best key. Okay. And it's a hard one. It's a very hard one to go at, but I feel like it's the most fulfilling one at the end of the day. It may not be the most successful one, but I'm at a point in time in life where I feel like your happiness is more important than whatever monetary gain you can possibly get. So if you feel like, you know, the cards are stacked against you, and it's just like, it seems like no one's really, if you're being overlooked by the people with more money, the best thing I could say is just create your own lane, essentially. You know, create your own pathway to get people to understand, this is what I do, this is what I'm trying to do, this is my story, this is my struggle, you know. And I mean, it's not easy. I mean, that's the main part of it. Like, just the way that everything's set up now, it's not going to be easy for you. I don't know. I wish I had a direct answer, but
it's so difficult.
Yeah.
And I think that's what kind of frustrated me, because I'm sitting here listening and hearing his story, and somebody that has almost a 4.0 and someone that's in the honors college and still struggling to get equal opportunities. And I'm, man, mind blown, because the fact that we're still facing issues like this, and that he's going through things like that, or we go through things like that. And it shows us so much that we have a long way to go.
Yeah.
Yet at the same time, it's possible. Because hearing that, he had all the odds stacked up against him, working 3 jobs, maintaining that GPA, all that stuff. So
yeah, and I think that should be a driving point to anybody, because it could be you. You
Facts.
could be Kalif. Any of us could be Kalif.
Facts.
You know, and I think that also should be a driving point to people. You know, that goes back to the self-empowerment, believing that I am worthy of this. Like,
Right.
You may have $1 million backing you, but you're not better than me. You know?
Right.
I feel like if everybody can wrap their head around that attitude, then they can't win. Because I feel like that's part of the game. They want you to feel like they don't even want you to play.
I mean, I'm not good enough. I'm inadequate.
They don't even want you to play the game. They want you to be like, oh, well, I can't win, so I'm not going to play.
Right,
but I think as long as we continue to play the game, eventually you're going to get you may not be as big of a win as you may not think it is, but a win is a win.
And Kalif said something that was very true. And I think people have to use this approach in life. The worst that can happen is no.
Exactly.
That's the worst. And everybody's been denied something at least once in their life. So if that's the worst that can possibly happen, just keep trying. Confidence is key. So I think that although you may not have the same bank account as some of these people out here, mentally, or your confidence, your aura, they may not have what you have, which is the true ingredients. So it's possible.
You know, it's crazy. I heard a quote the other day. It was a random video. It was about erosion. But the philosophical take from that was that, you know how water cuts rock? Not through power, but through persistence.
Wow.
I mean, and that's just key. I mean, you may not be able to go up against the heavy hitters, but if you just keep slowly chipping away at it, eventually you'll get something. Eventually that rock will break.
Right.
So you just got to keep playing. Keep playing the game, man.
That's it, man. Tyrone, before we go, is there anything that you would like to say, anything that you would like to talk about or drop on our viewers and listeners?
I don't know, man. I guess, like I said, keep going.
Yeah,
just
that's
keep going.
That's
Like
the phrase.
I mean, it's gonna seem like you're gonna want to stop. You're gonna get to the point where you feel like you've been beaten. You know, all that type of stuff. You're gonna get to that point, and when you get to that point, still keep going.
That's it.
That's all I can say.
Tyrone, that interview was fire. Amazing questions. Tyrone was telling me stuff that I didn't even know about Kalif. I'm telling you. That's
I'm on my Nardwar game.
Hey, this is what we do. But that's why I love this podcast. Tyrone's a beast, man. We love it. Tyrone, we finally got this thing on camera.
Boom.
So
it's beautiful.
We're doing it. So, again, Lorenzo, thank you. Tyrone, thank you guys. Honors College, shout out to you, The Signal, and also for students that's interested in applying or that want to be just like Kalif, hit up the Office of National Scholarships and Fellowships, Mr. Jacob English. Just go to the website, check out this podcast, listen to our podcast because we talk about things that you're interested in. Thank you again, Tyrone. He's a photographer. Check him out. Grad pick season is coming up, right?
Yeah.
But maybe. I'll be honest. Maybe
we'll see. I don't want to make any promises.
But check out Tyrone, your podcast. Let them know what it's called too. As well.
My podcast is called the Clocked In Podcast. You can find it under Apple Podcasts under Clocked In, or you can find it on SoundCloud under Spoiled US, I believe is what it is. Come check us out. You know, commentary. We do interviews about the up and coming creatives around Atlanta.
That's awesome. And you can follow Tyrone at East Not West, right?
That is very true. East Not West, EASTNOTWEAST. You know, for all my SpongeBob people out there, they know what I'm talking about.
Let them know. And you guys can follow me at Mind of Solomon. Lorenzo, what's the at?
For me?
Yes, sir. Hey, we're going to promo you too.
Classic.jpg.
Classic.jpg. Follow my man Lorenzo, cameraman. He came in clutch. But again, Office of National Scholarships and Fellowships. And you are listening to and watching the statement presented by the Signal and the GSU Honors College. And also, you are listening to The Grind as well. Peace, much love. You guys have a good time. Thank you. Appreciate that, Tyrone.